Yeah, but Cal, those are two things that don't really go together, though.
And we go together like cocaine and waffles.
From the great Midwest, it is
Cocaine and Waffles.
The Ultimate Camera Chat Podcast, featuring none other than Johnny Sisson and
Mike Eckman.
All right.
I hate the way I feel, but in my fear, till my body can struggle to the death now. I hate the chaos I try to feel. The restraint is the only third where I let it flow. It's best to never, and you put me in the face that always sets me free. Now it's because of the clutch of the ground before I never.
Boy, I love that song. Hey, John, how you doing?
All right.
We already have our first special guest from the land down under. We have Mr. Cheyenne Morrison, who we've just let in through the Zoom waiting room. So, hey, Cheyenne, how you doing?
G'day from the land down under, boys.
All right, yes. So this is kind of like a rebel podcast that Johnny and I are doing. No one knows we're doing it other than a few people. And in the spirit of rebellion, Cheyenne informed us that he's at a client's house and they don't know that making meth like Walter White. But you know, so I hope we just can have fun. The idea of this is not necessarily to have any kind of script or idea what we're going to do. Just have fun. People who all have similar interests, just to talk. Hopefully we'll have some other people pop in and out throughout the course of the show. I know, Cheyenne, you have a new piece of gear that you
oh yeah, baby.
What is it?
So I don't know how you guys got this worked out or what format's going to do, but I think should ask every guest that comes on, what's the latest camera they bought, this story. Okay. So this is mine. Now, people will know me from the Classic Lenses podcast, and I've bought and sold a lot of lenses, and my holy grail was the Carl Zeiss Jenner 75mm f1.5 Biotar, which Johnny really helped me. He was very helpful at the old Central Camera, me getting that. And I got it for a really, really good price. And I had that for quite a while, and I loved that lens, and it fulfilled all my fantasies, and it's really great. But I really struggled to get models here in Cairns, and it wasn't enough for me to have it. If I'm going to plan on moving to a big city and, expensive lenses, yeah, I can use them. But I just decided to be really harsh, and a guy made me a ridiculous offer for it. He said he wanted to buy it. And I said, I said 4 times what I paid for it. And he said, yeah, I'll take it. He's like a nut. And so I got 4,000 Australian dollars for it. I'm not sure what that works out to US, maybe about $3,000.
$12, I think. About $12.50 bucks.
But the shipping will be $3,000 though, so it kind of breaks even.
If it turns up, thanks to Joy. Yeah. So, and everyone's like, why did you sell it? What did you sell it? You wanted that lens so bad, and it took me 2 years to find one. Yeah, I did, and yeah, it was great, and it was everything. But I decided I wanted to move over to medium format, and I'd read that there was a 10 centimeter f2 Biotar, which they made for the Exacta 66. And I had the plan of getting a medium format camera, buying that lens, getting it retrofitted. And then in my research, I came across cameras like the Pentacon 6 and lots of others, which people that are into medium format will know. And then even further down the rabbit hole, I came across the Narita 66, which has got the 80mm f2, which is pretty much a Biotar formula. And then just trawling the web one day, going through stuff, looking at lenses, medium format stuff, I came across the Ritrec 6x6, which is the predecessor of the Narita 66. It was only made for 1 year, and the reason I fell in love with it was all the Narita 66s had black paint, which always comes off, and I'm just not a big fan of the black paint thing. Either it's perfect, and I'm afraid to scratch it, or they're scratched. Right. And I like the old German silver cameras, like the Contax S I had, and the Practina and all those silver cameras. I've got silver lenses. And the Ritrec was all chrome, had a mirror lockup, which the other cameras didn't have. And a lady was on Flickr, and she said, "Oh, hey, I've got one of these, and do you think anybody might be interested in buying it?" So I contacted her, and over a period of weeks, I kind of negotiated with her, and I bought it. And her dad had bought it on a trip back from Europe. I stopped over at Tokyo and bought it brand new in the box. Never used it.
Wow.
So it was in the box with the original leather holster case, all the filters, the waist level finder, which is like the holy grail of these cameras, and it's fucking amazing waist level finder. The prism finder, all the bits and bobs, the whole kit and caboodle, which I got for 1,000 Australian dollars.
Wow.
Absolute steal. So I knew it probably needed some work. It needed to be serviced. I took it to Melbourne. I just went on a big trip to Melbourne. I ran 3 rolls of film through it. And yeah, of course, I had spacing issues. But the shots that I did manage to get, just killer. It's just beautiful. It's really lovely. It's like the 75 millimeter Biotar, but on steroids. It shoots medium format 6x6. Killer. Do I regret selling the 75 millimeter f1.5 Biotar? No way. That Ritrec, man, I just love that camera. It's really, ergonomics are beautiful, looks are beautiful. Waist level finder is just off the charts, like so easy to focus. And yeah, loving it. So, and it's with my camera repairman at the moment, getting some TLC because basically it's sat in a box for 70 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always been, kind of a double-edged sword. Is sometimes people seek these unused, new old stock mint condition cameras, but the odds of them working are almost nil.
Yeah, don't ask my camera repair guy about Contax S cameras. Like he just literally pulled his hair out and spent 6 months trying to repair the shutter curtain timing, and eventually just gave up.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, yeah, he said if they really, really look brand new and they're untouched and everything, it's generally because it had a fault.
Yep.
So somebody bought it, it didn't work, they couldn't get it repaired, and they just put it in the bottom of the cupboard. And if you buy a camera and it's like mint, 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 expect that it's going to need some TLC.
That's been my experience too. I always have more faith in a well-used camera actually than a mint camera as far as is it going to have problems or not? Because the mint ones, like you said, they've been sitting.
Yeah, the people listening won't be able to benefit the video, but we do have a video on. But this is my F3, and I mean it doesn't show up too much, but I mean it's got brassing, everywhere. There's a pretty big dent on the front prism. The F3 is worn off. Lots of scratches on the bottom, and this thing is as smooth as any F3 I've ever used. I mean, it works perfectly.
That's awesome.
You could tell like someone used it. It's gotten a workup. Plus, especially when you deal with some of the more like semi-pro cameras like this, if a pro actually owned this, which is likely he did or she, they probably got it serviced regularly because, back then it was totally normal. You take your car in to get an oil change or get a tune-up every once in a while. It was standard fare for these cameras to just get routine maintenance done on occasion. So when you get an old camera...
Well, the proper... like pro cameras back in the day, like press photographers were using, that in every like big newspaper, there would have been a tech department that they had the photo lab developing all the stuff, and there would have been a repair guy in there that would have serviced all the cameras as they went in and out, and like when they did big like events back in the day, like the Olympics and stuff, all the big camera manufacturers did free service for all the press. So if you had Pentax or whatever, if you're a press photographer, you could just bring your camera in and they'd service it for free.
One of my many discussions with Bob Rodoloni, he talks to me a lot about Nikon and their history and such. One of the ways that they, got everything right with the original Nikon F is they valued extremely the feedback from professional photographers, and that's not to say that like Canon and Minolta and them didn't, but I think, Nikon went above and beyond to listen to what people wanted. And one of the ways they did that was in Tokyo, the main plant where all those original classic Nikons were made was just right down the street from like where Life magazine would have their reporters stay. Anytime somebody would go to Tokyo, Japan, even, in the Korean War, you didn't fly. Yeah, you didn't fly. You didn't fly reporters straight to Vietnam. You flew them to Tokyo, and then they would ferry over or however, to get there. So, Tokyo was this hub for basically the entire Pacific region for all these photographers from around the world. And what Nikon did was anybody, most of these people were using, hey, Perry.
Perry, you look confused.
Where am I?
Where am I?
What is this? What is?
We're just
wait. You're in Hong Kong still, right, Perry?
Yeah, I'm getting ready for work, and now I'm hearing things about the Vietnam War with three random dudes.
Three random dudes. Yeah, we just thought we would just talk about stuff. But real quick, let me just finish my point, and then you can speak. But what Nikon would do is these reporters who were based out of Tokyo, they would offer like service and cleaning for free. Even if you didn't have a Nikon camera, a lot of those guys carried Leicas back then. And if you were a reporter staying in the night in Tokyo, they would have a courier pick up your equipment from the hotel. They'd clean it. And then they just give it back to you for free. They didn't charge anything for it, but they were listening to what these people were talking about. And I believe like when you look at Canon's first attempt at an SLR, the Canon Flex versus the Nikon F, Canon thought they were being clever with that little rapid wind trigger on the bottom plate. And yeah, it was a little bit faster than a thumb wind, but it blocked the tripod socket. The camera was very difficult to advance when on a tripod. It didn't have a motor drive coupling. It lacked some of the things that people actually wanted, the pros wanted. And, in history has proven the Nikon F went on to be a tremendous success, and the Canon Flex, basically flopped. But we were talking about just, picking up cameras that are in mint, new in box, never before used condition generally don't work. You got to expect to send a brand new old stock camera out for service before you can use it. Whereas some of the more well-used examples have a better chance of working these days.
So,
okay.
Perry's still giving. So Perry, what time is it there?
It is 9:43 in the morning.
In the morning. Well, I've never seen you in the morning. There's like light in the room around you. I didn't even know it was possible for you to have light in that room.
That's correct. There's sunlight coming through my window.
That's amazing. Well, Perry, you have stumbled into cocaine and waffles, just so you know.
I've stumbled into something.
Hey, where's my cocaine?
Cheyenne was promised lines of coke.
So we're doing
normally on the classic lenses, they're interviewing me at bloody midnight. And I think the last podcast I did, I listened to it and I was like, I sounded so stoned. It was because it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was so tired. I kept like talking about cameras and lenses and things. And I was like, my brain just was not functioning.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Perry knows that feeling well. Look at him. I can't believe I'm seeing daytime Perry. This is so weird. Perry.
Well, see, I dictated the time on this one, and with two kids, it's really hard for me to do these kinds of things unless it's like 9 o'clock at night Central Time. So for you guys on the Far East, it's the middle of the day, but like Europe is asleep right now.
Right.
So we actually have two more people in the waiting room. It looks like.
Mike, you have a lot of cameras.
You can see that. Yeah. That shelf.
A lot.
That shelf is 12 inches deep, so most of those are 3.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I figured. All right, here, hold on. I'm gonna hit the admit button. We'll see if the Zoom gods are with us tonight. So we're slowly letting in the masses.
Audio this time.
Whoa. Whoa.
I didn't know this was a Zoom meeting till 5 minutes ago, and I don't have a camera set.
He doesn't have a
That's
camera.
all right.
It's okay.
Plus, I'm ugly.
It's okay because when you talk, it says Mike on the screen.
Yeah.
So we know.
We know which mic that is.
Yeah, it's Novak.
Yeah.
So there's one more. Let's see. Let's open up the floodgates. We have. Hold on. I see one more person joining. Oh, and he's got video. There he is, connecting to audio. All right, Mr. Anthony.
Oh my God!
Hello.
There he is.
There he is.
Hey.
So obviously, Carl, rest in peace, isn't with us anymore. But if Carl lives on spiritually through Anthony, he's here.
We're in good hands.
One of my favorite episodes of the Classic Lenses podcast when Carl was still around was the one where Carl was at Anthony's house, and you could hear Anthony trying to be serious and talk about his coffee shop or something photography related, and in the background you could just hear Carl fumbling around like what is this off from a distance, and I think Johnny you made a comment like, I don't know if I would let Carl loose in my house.
Well, I introduced Anthony and Carl because I was listening to the podcast and I friended Anthony and we're talking cameras and stuff, and I listened to Carl on the podcast and I said, so Anthony, have you met Carl? And he's like, who's Carl? And I'm like, you're shitting me, right? And I told him the address and everything, and then I don't know I can't remember the backstory back then, but yeah, Carl went to Anthony's coffee shop, or they met up, and then I was so jealous because they're both there together in the same town. They're swapping cameras and stuff, and I'm on the other side of the goddamn planet.
Why do you have his address?
Oh,
you probably bought something from him
because he's a stalker. Everybody knows that.
yeah, of course.
You just have a database?
No. I was
He's got databases for everything else.
I friended Anthony because we were. I think it was something in the Classic Lenses podcast, and we were talking about cameras, and he asked me something, and I just said, "Yeah, just friend me. I'll tell you." And then we kind of became really good friends online, and then I said, "Aren't you in the same town as Carl? Haven't you met Carl?" And he's like, really? He's in the same town as me? I'm like, yeah. And I gave him Carl's address. Asked Carl, I said, is it all right to give this guy your address? He said, yeah, sure. And then they became best buddies. That was great. So it was nice that those two guys hooked up, and that's our
okay. But most importantly, with Anthony and Mike Novak here now, which of you two has had both cocaine and waffles at the same meal?
Not me.
I've had cocaine then waffles.
See, I knew it. I knew Novak was going to say, well, yeah, I've had cocaine and waffles.
Yeah, waffles are
Denny's waffles.
Yeah. I've had plenty of meals, but not waffles and cocaine. But yeah,
I knew we could count on you, Mike.
Yeah.
So I still have no idea. I still have no idea what's going on.
So for anybody listening who can't see the video stream, Perry has been perpetually scratching his head like, what the F?
So Anthony, do you live at the mini golf course now?
I wish I could. I mean, it is to me quintessential Florida. It's the Florida of my youth.
Yeah.
So how many with 6 people here, how many old film cameras do you reckon we have between us? Because this is a gathering of some serious hoarders.
Oh,
it's in the several thousands.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Wow. Yeah. I'm looking around my table, and I have I have a dozen lenses and 5 cameras in front of me on this table.
So let's play without standing up. I mean, obviously I have a wall behind me, so I'm emitting those.
Yeah.
Within
arms from me.
Within arm's reach, what's the most interesting camera you could reach without standing up? Cheyenne, you're at a client's house, so I don't think you're going to be able to play this game.
I'm at my meth lab, so I left my cameras at home.
I'm gonna go with this one right here. Within arm's reach, I have a Kemper combi.
That's hard to top.
It's tiny.
I think for me, it's slightly out of arm's reach, but if I stretch, I could get it. There's an Ag for Record 3 about a meter away from me.
Okay. Oh, Anthony has a Footlander Ultramatic. That's excellent.
The Septon.
The Septon.
Are we grabbing them? All right, give me a sec.
Well, I could barely reach the Kodak Chevron. So.
Oh, he's got a Mercury.
Yeah. So this is one of two options I had at arm's reach. Both came from the back room at Central Camera that were going to get junked essentially.
Yeah.
And then I have this thing that looks like a radio that's apparently a camera.
Ooh.
I have one of those. It's up there though. I can't read. It doesn't qualify.
It's a Brownie Super 27.
What you know?
So 127 film.
Yeah, 127.
What's cool is that actually has a 2-speed shutter, but you can't choose the other shutter speed unless it thinks you have a flash in it. So
Check out the hidden flash bulb.
When you open the flash compartment, you're actually slowing down the shutter to a slower speed. So it's
Nice.
like I think it's like 1/80th of a second normally, and it goes to 1/40th with the door open. So I have my Bronica S2. Cheyenne,
All right.
you were talking about the Narita. Okay, I see some contacts. There's 2 of them. Oh, there's a 2 and a 3. No, Cheyenne, you were talking about the Narita wanting, a quality medium format camera, and that's actually been sort of a mission for me. Is I really want to find like a favorite go-to medium format camera, and I always really wanted a Bronica. You talked about not always liking black body cameras because they always get scratched and look like crap, but I assume you've seen a Bronica up close, but like the chrome.
Yeah, they're nice. I like the Bronicas. I actually got a really good deal on a the Mamiya 645 with 6 lenses,
An Exacto?
80mm f1.9.
Yeah.
But the thing was like the plastic thing, it just did my head in. And ergonomics, like it's
I don't know,
not a camera to carry around.
My new favorite 640 or medium format is a plastic camera. So
Nice.
Mike, the lens. I'm holding up the same camera. This lens.
Hey, there we go.
Is one of, I think, the best out there.
So mine, I have shot 3 rolls of film on this thing, and every single one of them has come out of focus. And I've read that these have a common fault where there's foam that hold the ground glass in place and the mirror that degrades. So I took the ground glass off, I took the hood off, and I was able to scrape off the old foam, and I have some felt that I use on other cameras. So I made a new light gasket with the felt, and I thought that would be good enough. So I shot another robot. Nice.
But Mike, most importantly, did you chop up that old foam with a razor blade and inhale it?
Inhale it with some waffles? No,
Yes.
So I think I'm going to have to send this thing like to finally get properly fixed, because I really love the camera, and I absolutely believe you, Perry, that the Nikkor lens is going to be fantastic. But it pisses me off that I've taken this thing out 3 times, and every roll I've shot has been slightly out of focus. Like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. The thickness of the foam matters, and it degrades over time.
Yeah.
But this is one of the best lenses out there. This 75.
Oh, I think Cheyenne.
I got to cut it short, guys.
Okay. It's
I got to cut it short. I'll cut it later, guys.
All right.
Bye bye.
Cheyenne.
All right. We lost one.
Oh, I hope Cheyenne's okay there in the meth house.
Yeah. Yeah. He warned us he'd have to drop out at any point because he's actually working right now. So we have another person to replace Cheyenne. So this is Eric. Let's see. We'll let him in out of the waiting room.
Perry G, we know you have to bail at some point. So all good, man.
Soon. But I'm working from home for the next couple hours. So.
Oh, cool. All right. Okay.
Yeah. So Eric is another blogger that I talked to in kind of a private chat. He runs a website called Aperture Preview. It's kind of a new site, but I liked the work that he was doing, in terms of just kind of picking some random cameras. It's not just like all the same, Leicas and Canon AE1s over and over again. I think, didn't you do the Revere?
Yeah, the 1074.
The 1074. It's a weird Revere branded Instamatic camera that Minolta had made for them. And I had one, and I just Googled it, and he had the only review of it online. So I thought that was kind of cool. So we've been talking for a little bit. I like to chat, pick the brains of other bloggers. You know, I have my site, you know, it sometimes helps to get inspiration from other people. Most of us use WordPress for our platform. And, you know, there's lots of tips and tricks to be shared amongst bloggers, you know, for stuff like that too. So welcome, Eric.
Thank you.
Hey, Eric. Eric, what's the name of your site, or where can we find you?
It's aperturepreview.com.
Aperturepreview.com.
I've only been writing for about a year and a half at this point.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm navigating over there. This is exciting.
Yeah, he's got a really nice, clean layout. It's not cluttered. He has not succumbed to the allure of ads like I unfortunately did. You know, unfortunately, you know, my hosting has gotten up to like 45, almost $50 a month.
Wow.
And
is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I originally was running my site for probably the first 4 years on, you can't see it, but a computer 10 feet away from me in my house. So like I was using my own residential ISP, like was my website. So, you know, Comcast went down or we lost power, my website would go down. And, you know, I started getting those nudges from Comcast saying that I'm starting to exceed my data caps. So I had to actually switch to a host. And the first host I picked, it was a little bit better. It wasn't that expensive, but the performance was garbage. So then I ended up having to switch a second time. And now I'm actually hosted on Amazon AWS, and it's a lot faster, but it's also a lot more expensive though. So, you know, the ads do help with that. The remainder of I don't get a lot from it, but it's enough to cover the hosting. You know, on occasion I'll pay for a premium plugin or something to make the site better. You know, I've been fortunate. So many people are willing to loan me stuff. And while, you know, loaning doesn't cost money, I still got to ship it back, you know, and
yes, you do.
I have 3 of Novak's cameras right now.
Really, the only thing I miss is the take-up spool for the EXA, because I accidentally shipped.
Oh, that's right.
With the
I got to make sure. I got to make sure I put that.
No,
back
I
in
can't
there.
shoot my EXA until I get that.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
I'll get it to you. Mike had sent me 3 cameras at the same time, and I've been done with the Rectiflex for a while.
So wait, Mike sent you cameras and you actually used them?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
The reason I ask is that Mike loaned me his XA4.
You never even shot a roll in it.
Never even put a roll of film in it. Was so excited. Never even shot it. Finally got it back to him, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that.
The XA4, Anthony, that's something you recently mentioned that you want to get, right? The Olympus?
I've been looking for one for a while. I just picked up like a brand new XA, but I'm still looking for a 4.
Ask Mike Novak. I hear he's got one.
Well, Anthony actually sends them back. You know, I still have his 10F though.
So Anthony's friends with this collector. I feel like we could talk about him because it's highly unlikely he'll listen to a camera podcast. But this guy Bernard he's like a former art dealer, right? Like a European fine art dealer, like a guy who like had galleries where $1 million paintings were sold. I mean, the dude has money. And he started collecting cameras, like in the 50s, 60s, maybe?
He started, the Mercury that I got, he was in his teens and he walked into the office at Universal the day they went bankrupt. And he saw that they had like their display case with like every camera that they'd ever made. And he ran home and asked his dad if he could borrow enough money to go back to the Universal office and buy every camera that they had on display.
Yeah. I mean,
because he had one.
So does he have the giant chevron then?
What's that?
Does he have the giant chevron then? I think that was a Universal prop. He's used in Lost in Space.
Oh, at Gilligan's Island, it was on there too, wasn't it?
Land of the Giants.
No, but he said Universal, the company that made the Mercury, not Universal Studios.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so
I have the cocaine, Novak.
Well, I think it's too many waffles.
He shared with me his catalog, and I mean, like, it's like looking at a McKeown's guide or, Sugiyama's Japanese guide collector cameras, it's like half of it is like wood and brass cameras from like the 1800s. I mean, I looked through this guy's catalog of cameras he owns, and it's only a partial of his collection. And honest to God, I couldn't name half of them. Like, that's how obscure. But this guy is like in his upper 80s. He's got a very peculiar opinion of people. Like, he'll just say he hates somebody because he saw a picture they took and didn't like the way it looked, and therefore he won't even talk to you. I talked to him, or actually Anthony said, "Hey, I'm in, because he's in Florida too. He's like, I'd love to come down and see your collection." Didn't he like yell at you or something?
I wanted to interview him, and because I mean, he's got such an amazing life story, and he just basically exploded and said he did not give interviews and had no interest in talking to me about it.
Yeah, like he'll get angry, like you'll ask him a question, he'll just downright get pissed off about something. But it's like, he keeps his collection in like a warehouse. So like, it's not even in his home. So I'm picturing there's like some storage locker somewhere in Miami that's got millions of dollars worth of rare cameras that no one has ever seen before.
All temperature controlled.
All temperature controlled. Yeah. But I mean, and he's in his upper 80s. Like, I know his wife recently passed away. So, the clock's ticking on him too. But, he'll sell things on eBay, but anything he sells, he gets serviced first. Like, I don't even think he's actually making money off this stuff. I mean, his prices are kind of high too, but anything you buy from him is like mint. I think Cheyenne, he left, but I think he's actually bought something from him before too.
I think so.
He has amazing stuff listed when it shows up.
Yeah. He's one of those sellers. Like, if you buy something, it's going to be perfect. Like,
right. Both of those contacts came from him.
Yeah, your medalist did too, didn't it? Yeah. So.
Did you get some good Coke with him in Miami, Anthony?
I've never been to see him.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's blown me off every time I've tried to go down there to see him. And then COVID hit. And
wow.
Yeah, he sent me. I have the Vocar article, and he just sent me 2 of them. Like, give me your address. I'm going to send you these cameras. I want you to fix them. So I got them, and I couldn't do it. Like, I tried. The good news is I didn't make them any worse than they were, but like, I ended up just sending them back and saying, I'm really sorry. I tried. I couldn't, he wanted to pay me. I'm like, I'm not going to accept money from you if I didn't actually accomplish anything, so I packaged them back up. I said, I'm real sorry. I couldn't. And he cut me out like the soup Nazi, no soup for you. So he's like angry at me. Like, I couldn't restore his Vocars. I tried.
Yo, guys, I have to bounce in a couple minutes.
Okay. But Perry still wants to know what we're doing.
I still have no idea what's going on, but I want to drop 2 things before we bounce here. Ekman,
yes.
Since you pulled out your Bronica,
okay,
have you tried using this as an adaptation platform?
An adaptation platform? No.
Here's why. Nick Lyle recently got one of these, and he had no idea it could do this. But you know that
the Helix comes
lens,
out. Yeah,
lens comes out, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then separately,
correct,
the focusing helical comes out.
Right.
But in here is a 58 millimeter screw thread.
Okay.
And because the mirror of the Bronica goes down and doesn't flip up, there's a little bit more space to play around with. So with this screw thread, it's actually, even though the flange distance is a bit long, it's actually a really, really good platform for randomly adapting old, lenses off whatever to, because you just got to get them on this. And it's sweet.
So what lens uses the 58 millimeter screw thread though?
Nothing. But what I do, for example, is like, for example, right over there, I've got
it's a perfect platform if you can invent a lens out of nowhere.
I think the Hellman's mayonnaise jar uses a 58 millimeter screw thread.
So you're talking about an adapter?
So what I do is I get like a 58 millimeter to whatever and put like, so for example, I have over there a Kodak Ektar something or other from it's either a large format lens or like from some kind of folder. Mm-hmm. And you get the 58 to whatever size, screw thread is on the back of the lens you want to adapt. And then you just get it on there.
Okay. I will, yes. I obviously have to fix the focus problems, but right. I will definitely try that. Being able to like everybody adapts lenses to digital, but being able to adapt something different to film could be kind of cool too. But I do love the camera. You know
what works astonishingly well on medium format? The optical block of the Lights Elmar 9cm f4, or the like 135 millimeter Hector, because you can just take the optical block off, get the right screw size, get it on there, and those lenses. I mean, on 35 millimeter, they're kind of, but
I like them on 35 millimeter.
No, they're nice. They're nice on 35 mil, but man, that Elmar on medium format is
excellent.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
Sweet. All right, I am going to do a review on the Bronica eventually here. I don't know if I'll be able to get it serviced before I do the review, but Johnny and I were talking before, like I'm actually not a very good photographer. So, like 20% of my reviews actually talk about the images. It's more about the history and the use of them. So, I'll point that out. Like if the images end up looking soft, that there's a reason for that. But I do love the camera. I love the look of it. I love the chrome. I definitely prefer waist level finders on those style of cameras than the eye levels. I just feel like an eye level on like Hasselblad or Bronica, I feel like I'm holding a square brick to my face and looking through a peephole.
I think if you get this thing in the right hands, it's
lethal.
You can do crazy things with it.
Sweet. All right, cool.
And the last thing before I bounce, because we got Anthony here. Anthony, I just need to thank you profusely for all of your awesome espresso tips. Because for Christmas, I got my girlfriend an espresso machine, and she's a bit of a caffeine junkie. And I can safely say now that her homemade lattes and flat whites are better than 99% of the cafes and shops out here. So
nice.
Thank you very much.
Can you say that, Perry?
Oh, screw you, man. I'm just about to go start my day. Well, you got to bust that out.
No, it's a screw lens, not screw me.
Have you used it?
It's hazed up. I got to get it clean. I mean, I could shoot it, but there's internal haze.
Do you get that from Paul Reibold?
No, my neighbor.
I thought you meant the haze. The haze is from all the cocaine.
From all the cocaine and waffles. Yeah, it's got a screw to Leica M adapter on it, so it mounts to an M3. But yeah, I mean, I put it on my Fuji digital mirrorless just to see like how bad it would turn out digitally. And I mean, yeah, I could probably correct for it in post processing, but if I'm going to keep this lens, I probably have to get it clean first, because like externally it's mint, but maybe one day I'll still sell it to you, Perry.
I don't remember exactly how this came up, but I was having a conversation with somebody, maybe even you, and I was saying, I'm pretty good for lenses now, but if there's two that I could have, I would want the Rodenstock Heligon 35 2.8 and the Schneider Xenagon 35 2.8, both in LTM, and then he just sends me a picture of the Xenagon.
If I get broke enough, I will sell this to you for
which he's just holding up there. So,
well, Perry, you just hope that web hosting prices keep going up. So
yeah. So I have to pay. So all right, we got another person just joined us. The last person to jump in was Eric from Aperture Preview, but we have another one of my favorite bloggers, Theo, from kind of, you're in we're New Zealand, Theo?
No, not New Zealand. Don't mistake us for the Kiwis.
Okay.
Australia, Sydney.
Australia, there you go. That's right. I couldn't keep track.
We just got rid of the fucking Australians.
Yeah, we just had Cheyenne Morrison just signed off a little while ago. So,
all right.
Take it easy, Theo. Perry. Take it easy.
Bye, Theo. I got to bounce.
But Theo's website is Photo Thinking. And, his has been around a little bit longer, but, he's another one of my favorite bloggers who kind of, does something similar to like what I do. He'll dive into the history of stuff, talk about the use of a camera, plus show some sample images. Theo and I actually have two of the exact same camera. His works and mine doesn't. It's the East German Pentagon. It's technically, I think it was originally made by KW, but it's the
Practi.
The Practi. Not Practiflex or Practica. It's just the Practi. And it's a I could get up, but I'll probably trip. But it's the first ever battery-powered, motor-driven camera. It came out in 1960. So it uses 2 AA batteries. It's really cool. He looks like he's going to grab one and show us. But he has probably the only working one, I think, in the world. Because for one, it's East German. 2, it's battery powered. 3, it just there weren't that many made. So does yours have power?
Yeah.
Can it fire?
Not at the moment, but I can, as we're talking, I can throw a couple batteries in there.
Yeah, it's a metal cacophony of gears and whines and little girls running to the hills when they hear the camera firing. But it's pretty cool. But anyway, so Theo has a cool site too with a lot of less than common cameras. That's always been kind of a theme for me. Is it gets boring writing about the same cameras that you could read about on other sites. Just I like reading about something I don't know about. So he's got a nice site there too. You actually did a article where you had your son shoot a camera, didn't you, Theo?
Yeah, I did one. That was a long time ago when he was 11. He shot the Olympus EE2, the little half frame thing, and I got him to sort of. I did it as a bit of an interview, but interesting enough, as they get a bit older, they then start to not want to do those kind of things. So I thought I'd jump in when I could.
Yeah. So we have Eric on. Anthony is still here, and Mike Novak does not have a webcam, but he's over there in Fort Dodge, Iowa.
Fort Dodge, Iowa.
So we have, with this time slot, we have basically the United States and like the Pacific region. Everybody in between is sleeping right now.
There you go, guys. I got it up and going. The practice. I'll try and pull it to my microphone. Have a listen to this.
Oh.
It's probably
works.
It's probably way louder in person, but yeah, I could imagine that's But I mean, considering it was made in East Germany in 1960, and it still works, And he showed me some sample images he got from it, and I mean they're fantastic. I think it's what, a Triotar on there.
Yeah, it's a Domiton. Maya Optic. Goldits, yeah.
So some kind of triplet, probably.
Yeah, 40 millimeter.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant. It even still the metering still works on it. So, which is actually quite amazing for a camera that age.
Yeah, pretty cool. So before you joined, Cheyenne was sharing his latest gas pickup, which was a Ritrek, which is the predecessor to the Norita 66. He bought it.
Yeah, he was telling me about that the other day.
New inbox. Yeah. So what?
I'm just waiting for it to come up for sale.
And
I've switched to large format now. I'm selling all my medium format crap.
For anybody listening who doesn't know Cheyenne Morrison, he might possibly have the world's supply of unopened packages of film, and he'll get like 90 rolls of like 127 Kodak Gold, and then he'll just okay, I don't want to shoot this anymore. I'm selling it.
I think Eric in Belgium might have a little more film.
That's true. You're right. Eric Cass Sluis.
Yeah, Cheyenne wrote to me last week and was like, "Hey, I'm shooting this medium format now, and I'll never shoot 35 millimeter again. So, do you want to buy all my Orvo 35 millimeter?" And if I've got like 6 cameras out for service right now, and if I hadn't been a little bit exposed, I
would buy it, but I'm still waiting for the package he shipped to me in October.
Oh, really? What'd you buy from him?
I did. He sent me a Christmas present, some of the Orwell film, some other stuff. Okay. I don't even know because I never got it. Anthony got his, and he said it looked like I got run over by a forklift.
Mine showed up 5 months after he shipped it, and it literally looked like it was like tied to a truck wheel and just.
Okay, no, mine. I bought some very chrome pan off him last week, 127, because he's getting rid of his whole 127 stash, and it arrived 3 days afterwards. Perfectly packed.
Well, you live kind of in the same hemisphere at least. So.
Yeah. It is funny though how certain areas of the world, like I got this from Russia not too long ago, and
Good
nice.
God.
So cool. It's like I call it the Russian Yashica.
Yeah.
It basically
It
looks like
kind
a
of looks
Japanese.
like a Voigtlander Dynamatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got those angled edges of like a Japanese camera. But anyway,
Yeah.
and I got that in like a week. Like I couldn't believe it. It actually came faster. Pandemic shipping out of Russia is actually faster because
I'd buy oral film from a guy in I think he's Bulgaria. And it usually gets here within a week.
Yeah, but yeah, like I could order from Canada and it would take a month to get here.
Yeah, I had a package shipped from Pennsylvania last week that came to Des Moines, and then back to Pennsylvania, and then back to Des Moines.
I've had that happen before.
I used to live in America.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Cheyenne's here with his meth dealer. Did you hear him? Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
him.
I was 21.
We're live with Cheyenne and his coke dealer.
I think
classic camera
Spring.
and voyeur podcast.
Oh shit! I didn't realize I was back on again.
He heard us talking about him. Does that mean we have to stop talking about him?
Flag off my film deliveries. And yeah, Mr. Yeah, I'm going to send some more Olo. And this time, if it can get through goddamn Joy and all his BS, I've got some 35 mil MP15. That's like the cream of the crop. I've got one brick left. I'll send it again. I hope this time it bloody turns up.
Yeah, I have some MP15 that looks like it was stored in Chernobyl.
Yeah, I think they
That's
opened
hilarious.
They opened the package with one of those old-fashioned can openers, I think.
So before we did this, Johnny's like, should we have a list of topics to talk about in case there's nothing to talk about? I was like, all right, I'll write a few things down. And here we are 47 minutes into this. And so far we've all been BSing.
That was the whole point. All right.
I know.
Now-
I was,
now
that was,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, now that everybody's here, so the title of this podcast is Cocaine and Waffles, as you might have guessed by now.
All the nicknames.
And the whole point was that I think the best part about all photography podcasts is all the non-photography talk that goes on. I mean, it all comes back to cameras and shit eventually, but it's all the other stuff in between that doesn't necessarily go together. That was the whole idea.
Well, you know, I've been a guest on the Classic Lens podcast a couple times. There's two guys up in Canada that I've been on podcasts for. I've done a few interviews and people have asked, well, why don't you do your own? And it's like, there's so many podcasts out there. It's like doing another one just doesn't really interest me. And the only reason I would consider something like this is to do something different. So I've been toying around this idea of just having some kind of like a radio show. I talk to Anthony constantly. I talk to Theo and Eric and a bunch of other bloggers every day in a private chat we have on Facebook. And I thought it would be fun to just sort of like throw it out there and just, kind of see what sticks. I don't want to have like a dedicated host, granted that works fine for most formats, but I think it would be fun to just have something where random people just pop in. And so far you guys have been kind of jumping in and out at different times, which I think is really cool. Like, I didn't even know Perry was going to join. And what'd you do? Did you just send him a link and say, click this?
Yeah. I was like, Perry, just jump in. Just don't ask what this is about.
Yeah.
Just jump in for a minute.
So we had Perry on here for like a good half hour and we never bothered to tell him what he was doing.
Which will be great when this shows up as the Classic Lenses podcast, which it totally isn't. We're kind of hijacking the Classic Lenses podcast for the week.
Just for the week.
Just for the week.
We'll see what happens. This was a proof of concept, I guess.
Right.
So I guess maybe why don't we already know what Cheyenne has. It's new. Does anybody else have anything cool that they've gotten recently?
I bought an interesting folder, but I don't actually have it yet.
What is it?
It's an NKK Wester auto roll.
I've seen those. Those are neat.
Yeah, it's really similar to that Kane Mine 6 that I bought a while ago. So it's nice coupled rangefinder unit focusing, Looks like a solid camera.
Wow,
The two cameras that I'm like most excited about picked up a camera I've been looking for a long time, and that is the Voigtlander Vito BR, which is the last iteration of the Voigtlander Vito B, but with the rangefinder.
Oh, cool. Okay. Is that with the Ultron lens then too?
No, it's got a color scope on it, which I have no problem with that.
No problem.
But I love the form factor of the Vito B. It's one of my favorite Voigtlander, like just all around like ideal cameras for me. And to have it with the rangefinder, and it's a nice rangefinder. It's actually nicer than the rangefinder that's on the Ultramatic.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other was the Semiotex or the Leotax Semi R, which I'm just actually taken by that camera.
Yeah, nice.
That was a Bernard camera, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. That was one that I ended up getting from Japan. It's the first time I ever bought a camera from Japan. It only took 6 days to get here too. Yeah. So that was, I've kind of slowed down. I picked up the Rolly 35 with the Xenar. And then a former baker with my cafe, decided to get out of camera work, and she sold me her Nikon F Black and a Sheikah Mat 124.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Happy about the Nikon.
The black one. It's I checked, it's not a 64. I was like, if the first two digits are 64, it's worth quite a bit.
It's like a 69.
Yeah. 69, dude.
Yeah.
Eric, are you still there? Did you get anything? Any new guests?
Yes, I picked up a Rico Caddy recently. That's sitting back there.
That's the half frame, right?
Yeah, the fully manual half frame.
That's cool. Yeah, a lot of those Japanese companies like put out these short-lived half-frame cameras that, didn't always get exported out of the country, and you really have to do some digging to be able to find some of them. But when you do, they're pretty neat.
Yeah, I had bad experiences with the Petrie half-frame camera.
Petrie's never worked, dude.
I know.
I
had so many 7s at this point that I tried shooting them once and the shutter just
yeah.
I have the 7 Flex. There you go. There's the du jour.
These are the last ones that have any chance of working. Are the Petrie's made before the 7?
I got the metered.
Yeah,
one.
there you go. I got a couple of those too.
Yeah, it's the only one that's metered. It's not even coupled, I don't think.
No, right.
It just gives you a reading, and it's up to you whether you want to use it or not.
Right.
I was shooting my Fed Micron half frame this last weekend and didn't realize that the Gauss adjustment dial, the ISO dial, had been completely there was like no friction on it at all, and it would just freely spin whenever I'd pick it up, and whenever I'd wind the camera, it would just randomly go to a different ISO setting, which I didn't realize until after I shot an entire roll. And then afterwards, I'm looking at it going, every time I wind this camera, it's at a different ISO.
Oh, yeah. That's annoying.
Auto bracketing.
Yeah. one of these.
Oh, exactly. With the red body.
There we go.
Great.
But yeah, it kind of made for an interesting roll of film because it was some old expired Fuji Superior 400, and no two frames are the same.
I got a fun half frame story. Mike Novak had an AGFA memo, which Ansco and AGFA both made memo cameras about 10 years apart, and they used their own proprietary cassettes. And Mike, you were missing one, or you didn't have any, I think. And I said
I didn't have any for the Ansco.
So I sent you 2 of them because I had a couple extra ones just so you could shoot it. And then, he shot the Ansco, and then you recently shot the AGFA too, because they use the same cassettes.
Yeah.
And he was telling me he wasn't too happy with it. And I looked at the results. I'm like, well, that looks really good for half frame. And he's like, what's up with you, man? This isn't a half frame camera. And I'm like, well, mine is. And I didn't even realize it, but they actually made that camera in both full frame and half frame. And without even realizing it, I had the less common version of it. But it's otherwise the exact same camera. Like, they didn't even bother changing the lens. So like the half frame version is literally just cropped.
Wait a second. I thought it was only half. Because I have the half frame also.
No, it's more commonly found full frame.
Huh. And actually, those pictures didn't really turn out that bad. I was just cranky.
He was coming down from his cocaine high.
Yeah, it was all the cocaine that
They were all out of Waffles at,
He was out of Waffles.
at the Village Inn.
So here, I'll pull mine out. If anybody, I know, like anybody listening to this can't see the video, but I'll have a review of this up soon. But the best way to tell, the best way is just simply look at the viewfinder. If it looks half frame, it's half frame. But how the AGFA memo and ANSCO memo cameras work is they use this thing on the back to advance the film. So it uses some kind of claw that's on the pressure plate.
Yeah.
And it just basically pulls the shutter. The film.
It pulls from one cassette to the other.
See, yeah, I guess you really can't see that, but it pulls from one cassette to the other, but the half frame version only goes halfway across, whereas the full frame version goes the whole way. So
I
assume
go get mine.
So I have to go
and you
look.
could use either the ANSCO cassettes in there or the AGFA.
Yeah, but it's an attractive camera. And what's another cool piece of trivia about this is it's typical German leather, nickel plated metal. It's got kind of that brownish tint to it. It's an AGFA branded camera, but it's made in the United States. I mean, this was actually made in New York. If you can see that, made in Binghamton, New York, USA. So
see, mine has that stamped on the leather in the back.
Oh, does it? Mine
doesn't have that plate. Yeah.
No. But most people know that AGFA and ANSCO had a partnership before and after the war, and some AGFA cameras were branded for ANSCO and vice versa. But this is the only one I know of that's branded AGFA, but actually made. Yeah, yours is the same as mine, John.
Yeah, and I just double checked. I opened the back up, and it's half frame.
Half frame, yeah.
And it has one cassette. There's a note in this cassette. Oh, I remember. This is the there was this massive estate sale I went to in about 2015, and see, here's a little tag.
Was it in Chicago?
No,
the guy was going to sell like vending machines.
This was in Grays Lake.
Oh, okay.
And the guy was like the president of the Kodak Collectors Society or something, and I got a ridiculous amount of stuff at that estate sale.
When I first got into this, when I first started my website, there was this guy that posted on Facebook, I live in Chicago. I'm selling my entire collection. Prices start at $5, by appointment only. So I was like, I'll go, so I drove into the city, I brought like $50. And this dude had like everything. I mean, he had everything from Kodak box cameras to like mint condition Rolleiflexes, and he was liquidating this stuff left and right. Wow. And I did pick up a couple cool things, but I think back to that sale, like if I knew then what I know now, man, I would have done some damage.
Well, yeah, Mike, this was the sale I'm talking about is the one that I went to, and he had several.
The
Kodak Panorams.
Yeah.
And I saw them and I'm like, yeah, those are interesting. I'll come back tomorrow thinking nobody else is going to come buy them. And of course, everything was gone the next day.
Yeah.
But they were like mint condition on the shelf.
Yeah. Johnny and I both have the exact same camera. Yeah. That's the one that got away, is the Kodak No. 4 Panoram.
Yep.
The one, for anybody who's been to my site, I reviewed 2 of them, only one of which worked, but it worked great. And that was a loaner. By a guy who, when I had it, said, just give me $75 and you can keep them. And I was like, you can have them back. And then like a month later, I'm like, hey, are those cameras still available? He's like, nope. And now they go for like $300-400.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Each,
Hey, speaking of which, Mike, are you still shooting my Horizon?
Yeah, I did the first roll over there somewhere. I know you want it back. I'll get it back to you. Yeah, here it is. We were just
by the way, Mike Eckman still has my
your P's.
Yeah, my P.
Here's Anthony's Horizon, and I have the F21.
Oh, you've got the Tokarev. That's awesome.
Yeah. This is a much cooler looking camera. I love the way it works, but it sucks to load. I actually hate this camera.
I load mine only in a dark bag because it.
It's such a pain in the ass.
You don't waste a roll of film.
Well, the supply and take-up spool, it uses regular 35 millimeter, but the supply and take-up spools are 4 separate pieces.
Yeah.
And you have to, there's like a spool that goes inside a sleeve, and then there's a cap on either end that holds it shut. So you have to do all that, and the orientation needs to be observed. Like they're not reversible.
No,
like
they're not reversible.
You have to get it correct.
And I have a good story about mine because I got mine and I didn't realize till I got another one that whoever had my Tokarev, the guy had massively modified this camera. Like there are all sorts of areas that are ground down and polished. So like somebody shot the hell out of this camera and they modified it. So all the little things that are problematic, all the light leaks and everything, whoever shot this thing had taken care of all that stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until I saw an unmodified version of that camera. So it's crazy. He even had a metal insert made that goes around the film where the film sits.
Okay.
I think to modify it so it focused closer. I mean, it's crazy.
There's actually a website you can go to that has hacks on things to like add another speed, how to do close focus.
Right.
There's actually like you could make it close focused, but then you lose infinity. Yeah. There's a couple other mods you could do to those cameras to technically make them better. And like I said, very cool camera. It's an awesome shelf collector piece. Vlad Kern has like 100 of them.
Oh, I shoot mine. I love it.
Really? Maybe I just need to give it more effort, and then I can give Anthony back his Horizon.
It's such a pain, though. I mean,
it is.
I have to mark down. I have to keep a log of every frame that I shoot, so I don't forget to wind, and you have to wind it just right.
You have to count how many times the needle goes around for one exposure.
It's a real pain in the ass. It's not like using a camera.
No. Yeah. For anybody wanting, like if you like true panoramic 35 millimeter, save your money. Do not get an Eckman. They are massively overrated and extraordinarily picky about batteries. I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
The shitty generic Chinese battery that Central Camera sold me couldn't even turn the thing on. It like literally works with like Energizer lithiums or that's it. But then, but the Panoram is only, or Eckman, I mean, is only like 65 millimeter. The Horizon is, I think, 75, something like that. But the Tokarev is like 110 millimeters wide. Like, I mean, you get these ridiculously wide panoramic images.
Super pano.
It's,
it really is.
Like, on a 36 exposure roll, you get 12 pictures. So, I mean, it's essentially 3. It's probably like a little bit more than 3 normal frames all side together. So,
right.
Theo, did you? Or go ahead.
How do you find framing that?
It's got a flip up, just metal frame finder that you just sort of like guess.
Wow.
I don't frame mine at all. I don't.
When it's that wide, you just kind of find a central focal point. And I just kind of look to the sides and say, is there anything interesting to the side? I'm probably going to get it.
It's actually more like a handgun than a camera. And it's like literally like an old Tokarev pistol. You don't really aim it. You just kind of point down the top of the slide.
The one problem
it's crazy.
Ironically, framing side to side isn't that hard because it pretty much gets everything. But up and down can actually be a little bit of a challenge. It does have a bubble level, which does come in quite handy.
Yeah.
Because with a panoramic camera, especially if the horizon is in the image, if you don't get it right, you're going to get some bizarre curved.
Right.
I was in Mackinac City.
I would get a curve on every frame then.
I would. I was in Mackinac City, Michigan, and for anybody who's familiar with the area, in a real beautiful area, and I was like on the side of the Mackinac Bridge, and I thought, oh, this is a perfect thing to take a panoramic camera of, and I completely screwed it up. Like I cut off like half of the bridge. I
can imagine when you're trying to straighten it too, you'd lose a hell of a lot of the frame too. If you didn't get it spot on.
Yeah.
Another mod that I found on my camera was somebody had etched in lines. It's like the top of the camera has lines going to each corner.
Oh, like the old brownie?
Yeah,
like
that, right. So you basically, I just kind of aim it and make sure that it's level. I use the bubble level and I just kind of point it in the direct. I don't even bother trying to like frame it at all. I shoot it looking down from my waist at the bubble level and I just point it at the horizon I want to shoot, and that's that's as close as it gets.
I said to John before we started recording, I want some inspiration to keep me motivated because I'm finding that I am struggling and pumping out reviews for the site. So I think I'm going to force myself to take Johnny's Minolta Peas, Anthony's Horizon, and the Tokarev I actually own. It is mine, but I'm gonna take all three of them and just do a panoramic.
Okay, when you want to flip that Tokarev, let me know.
It works really
I'm always
well.
looking for another one.
It doesn't have any light leaks. I do notice that the far right side of the image is slightly darker than the rest of it. So you can tell the lens is probably slowing down just a tad before it gets there. But but otherwise it does work pretty good.
Nice.
But Theo, I wanted to ask Theo, what's your anything new and exciting?
I do have something new, but I do want to follow up on something we had on a thread a while back.
Sure.
Johnny, I don't know if you remember seeing this.
Oh, the white Petri.
The white Petri, the green one.
Did you sell that to him?
There it is. Yeah.
Yes. Now tell me, in that thread, if I remember, yourself and Mike, we're going to go and get green leather on one, so you can get the green America green. Did you guys ever do that?
No.
Mine all still look like this.
Yeah.
We need to have a green-o-matic at some point.
Green-o-matic.
A green-o-matic, yeah. Right.
It will happen. That's funny.
My latest purchase is. Sorry?
I have Carl would buy these Petris because of Johnny, and then just surreptitiously pass them on to me at the bar at the cafe.
I kept telling him, "Don't buy the Petri 7, Carl. Don't buy another Petri 7."
Bad.
And he kept buying
I've got at least 2 of his Petris.
The only other Petri, the reliability on him is shit. But the only other Petri that's actually nice to use is the Racer.
Yeah.
Didn't I send you one, Anthony?
No, I've got one. I picked one up at KEH at a yard sale. I picked one up from KEH.
You needed a battery compartment. I just sent you a whole camera.
Yeah, no, I needed a battery compartment for a Konica auto reflex that I picked up at a garage sale that was in perfect condition, but missing the battery compartment. It turned out that of all the cameras I had, the Racer was the one that the battery compartment fit.
Oh, that's what it is then.
Which is the little Petri that's little like the Rolly 35? There's a.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
35.
Yeah, it's just called the Petri 35. It's really tiny.
You have to extend out the lens with like a weird wheel too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have Anthony's Rolly 35 too. I'm so terrible. You know, that whole section over there, I know you really can't see it, are all loaned cameras, so I do keep them all together. Except
so you actually have a section for loaned cameras.
Oh yeah. There's one whole shelf is Soviet. I have a shelf of Nikon SLRs. I have miscellaneous Japanese SLRs. The bottom 2 shelves are all rangefinders. I have folding camera. I actually have more upstairs, but I have a small section of folding cameras. Way up on top are like miscellaneous things like the Photochrome. I have a Connie Rapid Omega up there, a couple plastic Imperials. This side over here, you guys can't see, are the few point and shoots that I like. I have this thing called a GoCo Macromax, which is this really crappy, all plastic, cheap point and shoot, but it focuses down to 10 millimeter or 10 centimeters. And you don't usually see that in like a cheap, here, I'll show you. You don't usually see that. I mean, this thing weighs like 200 grams. It's tiny. And when this thing was new, it actually came with a support that screws onto the tripod socket, and it has a platform. There's supposed to be a frame. So if you want to do macro shots, you have this frame that's attached to the front of the camera.
Right.
And as long as whatever it is you're taking a picture of is in that frame, you know, you'll actually, because the parallax is so severe, you know, that close. But to have a cheap plastic, I mean, like I said, this thing weighs nothing. But it's cool because you don't usually get macro, like true macro on a point and shoot.
So that's how you do macro work underwater with a Nikonos. Is there's a wire frame that you just press up against what you want to take a picture of.
This works exactly the same way, but again, I mean,
Mike, we had at Central Camera, the owner had bought like 100 of those on closeout.
Yeah.
and we had literally like 100 of them stashed away. I'm really glad they all burned because
oh really?
Yeah, because he had them out for like 129 or 149, and we
ridiculous.
never sold a single one. And I'm like, we're never
they're worth $10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
I for anybody who doesn't know, obviously Central Camera was arsoned last, what was it? Is it May, June?
Yeah.
It's been almost a year.
It's been almost a year.
But the previous February, they had a flood in the basement. The building is so old. Johnny used to have a joke of what are all the ways you could die at Central Camera? You know, like tetanus, you get bitten by like a radioactive rat.
Yeah, it was actually a board game.
Mold was one of them.
Yep.
There was an old like iron furnace that like didn't work anymore, but like at any moment it was going to collapse. There's probably lead paint. Anyway, asbestos.
Yeah.
But anyway, the basement, had you get 100-year-old camera shop. I mean, it accumulates a lot of stuff. And there was one point where they had a flood and they's like, we need to get this stuff out of here. So John's like, the boss isn't here today. Mike, if you want to go to the basement, anything you want, just throw it in a box. And I rescued like 50 cameras from that. And I think, Mike, I gave you needed a back for something that I
for one of the words in Edix.
Yeah, that's right. The Edixa. Edinex. Yeah, that came from there. I was able to restore a couple Aries rangefinders. There was a couple lenses I was able to trade to somebody that it wasn't worth much, but like somebody wanted it. I was like, well, I got one. So yeah, that proved to be good. But then I think of how many other things were still there that, if I would have had a little more time, I could have rescued more crap, like more GoCo Macromax.
Now it's all slag.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the status on that then? I saw a picture of their setup in the health food store.
I was actually there about 3 weeks ago for the first time since last March.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the space immediately next door that they've opened up, and they actually have quite a bit of stuff in there. I mean, they have a lot of chemistry and they have film. They have some cameras out. They're doing processing. They're taking cameras in for repair. I'm not sure where they're sending them. But there's an entire back room, Mike, that looks like what the basement was like before, except everything is on those wire rack shelves.
Yeah.
And there's probably 25 wire rack shelves. I posted some photos in, I think, Negative Positives. I posted an update with photos.
Saw those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you saw that? Okay. So I could share those photos in this.
Yeah. I must have missed those.
But yeah, I actually what I am going to be doing is I'm going to be working there probably a couple days a week, just going through and cataloging everything
for eBay.
Well, for eBay and just to sell. But the thing is, most of it, I would say 90% of it is never going to work again. So I'm actually, I really wanted to do this at a previous date when we had all that stuff that was in the basement that you saw, Mike. I always wanted to do a thing where we sold them almost as collector's items, and like you could buy for a flat price, reasonable price, like a camera from Central Camera that came with a little thing that said it was from Central Camera.
Yeah.
So
you can open a lamp shop.
Or open a lamp shop. There was a guy who used to come in and buy cameras en masse for lamp making, which I'm fine with. I don't give a fuck. I mean, most of them are never going to work again. People are so precious about them, but they're never going to work, So I'm like, if you want to turn it into a lamp, that's fine with me. But I would really love to sell them as is. Just if you want an old cool camera, here you go. You know. But I have to go through and catalog them all before we can even put them out. So. It's hundreds and hundreds of cameras.
But the best part about that story is I'd filled up a box of cameras, and John's like, all right, let's go upstairs. But as he's walking up the stairs, he's like finding Argus C3s like in random spots in the wall, and he's just throwing them in the box. Like, just get this fucking thing out of here. And so I walked out of there with probably a dozen. In fact, I have one. I don't know if I can reach it.
They're like lice. They were like camera shop lights.
There's not that common down here.
The Central Camera sticker, if you can see that.
Wow.
See that? Bad shutter.
That's Charles's writing. I know who wrote the sticker even.
You know, they're not very common down this part of the world, the C3s.
How many do you want? I'll rent a tanker. I'll rent an ocean going vessel.
I've got one. That's probably enough, actually.
I have 3 of them, and I never bought a single one of them.
Yeah, they show up. Though, if you do get an opportunity to shoot one and you could find the auxiliary lenses, the Enawork made a Sandmar, a 35 millimeter Sandmar that actually is really good.
I have both of those lenses here. I think for some reason I have a brick and the lenses here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's better options for shooting a wide angle rangefinder, but I don't know. I mean,
pretty much all of them.
Everything, everything ever made. I don't know what it is. It's not logical. It's just everybody kind of has that weak spot, and mine is for the Argus C3. I mean, I have a whole collection of way better cameras, but I just have a fondness for them.
That's what happens when you do Coke and Waffles. You collect Argus bricks.
I had a blast shooting the Argus Autronic last winter. It was it was a fun camera to use. It's I like it a lot better than the C3.
The Autronics, I like the
shot an Argus. I've never even held an Argus before.
Well,
have you ever held a brick before?
Never.
I'll send you one in the next package then, Anthony.
We'll send you a brick and draw a lens on the front.
The Autronic has the shutter release on the front, like it's like a Miranda kind of, or a Topcon. That's kind of
and
cool.
It can use it in fully manual.
Yeah,
you just have to do a little translation.
You have to know what the codes mean, right?
Yeah.
Did we get to everybody? Anthony, I know what Anthony's gotten new, so.
I
did buy.
I did actually get something recently.
Oh yeah, Theo, go ahead.
It was it's actually the Fed 10, I think it's called, or the Industar.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Well, the pre
Zorky.
Yeah, on the Zorky, yeah. But this is the uncoated version.
Okay.
The Industar 22, and I'm looking forward to actually trying that out. It's a little cheap brush lens, but it does look quite interesting in the sense that the lack of coating may actually give it some results, which will be a bit different.
Yeah,
I bought something that Mike might be interested in.
Go ahead.
I got a Kodak 620 special.
Oh.
With this
autofocus?
No, with the Anastigmat special lens.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Not the monitor, but the 620 special.
Gotcha.
And you know what? The bellows look like I can actually patch them.
Wow.
Wow.
I just did the review on the Regent, the Kodak Regent, which uses 620 film, but it was made in Germany. It's a Nagel camera, so it of course has leather bellows, which work fine.
Nice.
But that was really nice to shoot.
You thought it was nice to shoot?
Well, let me rephrase. I got nice results. I got nice results from it. I actually like the flip up view. The rangefinder not only was broken on mine, but even if
they're all broken.
Yeah, even if it did work, it would be completely useless. But I did actually like the flip up viewfinder. The results were fantastic, and
it's got a great lens on it.
Yeah.
The focusing is like really, really awkward.
Oh, look at that. What am I looking at? I can see frame lines.
That one actually works. Look at that.
I can see. Yeah, those come up pretty good.
So
there's a Zorky. There you go.
So speaking of Zorkies, this is my 4K, but I just got the Orion lens, which is the 28 millimeter. I actually bought it from Fedka, the guy in New York.
Yeah.
Fedka.com. And he was out. So he's like, I just sold the last one. Do you mind if I have it drop shipped to you from Ukraine? So this just arrived from Ukraine the other day. And I have also the nice Voigtlander 28 finder because I got a hard on for these things. I have a serious hard on for these things. So yeah, I have now a kind of the 28 millimeter setup on the Zorky.
It's cool.
Nice.
The thing I like about these Zorkies is that little rubber bumper.
Only the 4K has that.
Yeah, the little rubber bumper that slaps.
Yeah, I was going to say mine's still got the wheel.
Yeah.
The regular 4.
He's got the earlier one, yeah.
I actually need to get one of those because, you know what? Winders are hugely overrated, in my opinion. And this camera is goofy. It's got like the silk screened numbers on the dial here that just wear off.
Yeah.
So that the 4 that you have is a nicer camera. I really need to get one.
I like
it's actually
mine.
quite interesting. I just don't put Silvera film in one of these things. It slips out, and I did that with a couple of rolls, and you end up getting about halfway, and then the rest of the roll effectively becomes one long photo overlapping itself. It just slips and slips through because the film is so thin. And
wow.
But it gave the when I got it processed, and they basically gave up on trying to work out where to cut the actual film. So I've turned up and they've just shoved this roll at me and gone, you figure it out.
Nice. Oh, Mike Eckman is up to something.
I'm looking for something.
Yeah,
He's at the shelves.
He's at the shelf.
You guys are getting a glimpse into the madness here that how often I can't find.
You guys missed it earlier. We were doing the preview and Mike's wife is like, Mike, did you fix the washing machine yet?
I did. It's fixed.
I'm doing my show.
That was great, Mike. Mike's like lickety split to fix that washing machine.
Yeah. Oh, what the hell? Oh well. I was gonna show you guys something, but I can't find it. So anyway. So that's cool. Yeah, the Fed or the Fed, the Industar 10. I think all those Soviet collapsible lenses are fantastic. You know, people talk about Soviet sample variation, you know, wildly different. I think maybe that was true later on, but the earlier Soviet stuff, you know, from the 50s and even into the 60s is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I mean, I've shot Canon, you know, screw mount Canons and Leica screw mounts. They have pinholes in the cushions, whereas some, you know, Soviet stuff works okay. You know, it's just luck of the draw. You know, you could get a bad Kiev, you could get a bad, you know, Fed, you could get a bad Zorky, but you can get a bad anything.
You could get a good Leningrad, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometime.
The difference is you're not going to cry too much if you get a bad, you know, Soviet cameras compared to if you end up with a Leica.
Well, right, exactly. You could buy 5 of them, and one of them will probably be okay. You know, whereas you spend the money on what people ask for some of these things, and there's just no guarantee it's going to work. You know, you got to get it fixed. So, all right. Well, we've gone around the room. I have an article going live tomorrow. I'm doing a showdown between the Leica M3 and the Nikon SP. I'm calling it the best ever.
No,
finder.
No. You're not. You're calling it Godzilla versus Gamera, right?
Godzilla versus Gamera.
I should have sent you the contacts to
the context. Yeah. I picked those two because they did compete with one another. The M3 came out in 54, but the SP didn't come out till 57. But you know, the M3 both came first and was still in production when the SP went out. I'd always known that, you know, there actually weren't that many Nikon rangefinders made. Earlier this year, I did the review of the Canon 7. And I have Peter Deckert's book. If you ever want to learn about Canon rangefinders, this is one of the best books to get about those. But he's got production numbers in here. And a surprising fact is there were more Canon 7s, just the 7, not the 7S, made than all Nikon rangefinders combined. All of them. From the first Nikon 1 all the way to the S4 SP, the last one made.
That does not surprise me.
There were only like 120,000 Nikon rangefinders in all series made, and there were like 130,000 Canon 7s made. So when you look at the Leica M3, I think the total production on those was over like 200,000. Wow. So, you know, they're definitely produced in larger numbers. I do at the end kind of like a price / value, because, you know, like I'll let it a little secret, you know, it's taken me like a millennium, but one of these days when I do shoot Johnny's Minolta P's, I'm going to do that in a head-to-head with the Hasselblad X-Pan.
Oh, nice.
And I anticipated doing this. So I actually, back when I had the X-Pan still, because I sent it back, I actually took a picture of the two cameras side by side. And I mean, obviously the X-Pan dwarfs the Minolta, but obviously the X-Pan is a more capable camera in every regard. But the value proposition, you're talking about a $50 to maybe $100 plastic point and shoot versus a $5,000 behemoth. And for what is essentially 50 times more money, are you actually getting 50 times more camera?
And for a long time, I lusted after the X-Pan, because I remember when they first came out, I was actually working for a commercial photographer when they came out, and we were both, when that camera came out, I mean, he was shooting Hasselblads, for the day job, right? Because everybody shot Hasselblads back then. It was like a requirement if you were working with art directors. So we were, shooting Hasselblads, and the X-Pan came out, and we were both like dying over that camera.
They are neat.
They're neat. But I mean, I have been so, with all the other panoramic stuff I've done, I have been so cured of the thought that I need an X-Pan, because I don't want to carry it around either. I love my little.
Even if it really was that good, even if it transcended anything, and it was this life altering experience shooting it, it's just not worth the money.
Right.
And I had this thing, it was loaned to me, and the guy who loaned it to me not only gave me the camera, but all three lenses, the wide angle, the 90, I think it was a 90 millimeter. I don't remember anymore. It's on my site, but not only that, he had even the proper Hasselblad filters.
Oh, the filters. Wow.
The one I had that too. Yeah.
Because for anybody who hasn't seen an X-Pan, it's not a swing lens like the Russian ones are. It's just a really wide angle lens. And the problem with any wide angle, no matter how good it is, you're going to get some vignetting. So to avoid on a panoramic image with a super wide angle lens, you don't want the edges to be significantly darker than the middle. So what they did was they made these filters. They look like normal, like neutral density filters, but they're darker in the center than the edges. And the idea is that they artificially darken the center to kind of match it to what the natural edges already are dark, to kind of give you a more.
Isn't there a filter like that for like the super Angulon large format?
Yeah, it's got a star in the center or something goofy like that. So, but the thing is that filter is like $150, probably even more than that. I don't even know. But like this whole kit, he sends me this camera and all the lenses. He's got all the correct body caps and lens caps for them, and each filter was worth $150, $200. I was happy to shoot it. I was happy to get a review out for it, but boy, was I glad to send that thing back. and if I had paid what it's worth, like Johnny said, I'd be terrified to take it out.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on the 617, the Fuji in that case?
Oh man,
I'll let you know when I can touch one.
I was in Montreal.
Isn't there a Linhof? What is it? Tech?
Yeah.
I was in Montreal just like 3 months before the lockdown. I was in this little camera shop, and I picked up a couple of like M42 lenses, but the guy like, hey, I'll show you this camera behind the case, or behind the counter. And he pulls out this suitcase and flips it open, and it's a G617. And he's like, I just want to get rid of it. And he goes, maybe $1,000 Canadian. And I didn't get it.
Oh my God.
Oh, you didn't get it. Oh my God. Oh, I would have been snapping that up
I know.
A flash.
I know.
I'll show you guys two more things. You mentioned I don't have the it's nowhere near as cool as 617, but I love this Fuji 645 wide.
Oh,
this cam is great. It's not just a medium format 4.5 by 6 point and shoot, but it also has a wide angle lens on it, which is just awesome.
Nice. My favorite. That's my new favorite.
Yeah,
you've been shooting with that this week, Mike.
Yeah, some of the best pictures I ever took.
But when we were talking about the Zorkies with the knob wind versus the lever wind, sometimes knob wind isn't worse. This is a military carton. Let me get out of the case. It looks like a Barnack, right? Mm-hmm. But if you look at the wind knob, there you go.
Oh yeah.
It's got this huge wine knob. You
So
know,
you could use it with mittens
with
on.
mittens. But the wider diameter of it, you know, when you're shooting it, you know, I mean, I'm not quite getting it, but you know what I mean? It's really fast. You know, I mean, it may be marginally slower than a lever wine, but it feels good to like have this wide diameter knob. And that's one thing,
that's what she said.
Hold the knob and turn the camera. I bet you could do it even
That's
faster.
what I do with my Barn Axe. Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. Yeah.
Hold the knob and turn the camera, Mike says.
Okay. Pull the knob. Yeah.
You should probably polish that knob too.
And snort some coke off that knob.
Yeah.
So, all right. I feel like if we don't have any like semblance of restrictions, we could go on forever. It's already 10 o'clock here. So maybe we should wrap this up. All right. Well, thanks guys. I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
It's been fun.
All right.
Thank you.
Take it easy, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
All right, Johnny, stay on.
All right.
Everybody.
Later.
I don't know. All right. I guess that's that. Looks like Cheyenne's still there. I think I can kick him out.
Cheyenne is gonna be on there forever.
All right.
He's still there.
Yeah, I heard everything, bastards. I'm like my guy here. He's like, yeah, you can chat, and I'm like, he kept like interrupting.
Cheyenne is a soundbite machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm real. At least I got in like on a part of it.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
I was listening. I was like, oh my god, I wish I could be able to talk, because there was like so many things I wanted to talk about. I didn't get to talk about my very wide 100. I finally shot some film through that in Melbourne, and yeah, it's a freaking killer camera. But I've got to, yeah, that is a tripod camera. You don't shoot that camera without a tripod, and film and exposure. It's a little bit finicky, and it's got to be stopped down. But yeah, I got a couple of nice shots out of that. So yeah. Anyway, another time. So is there going to be like a Facebook group for this thing, or is this like a what do you call it when they have TV shows and they have the
spin-off?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even know if like what the plan is for this. This literally, what was it, Monday?
Yeah.
Hey, I said, hey, we should just do our own podcast. And Johnny's like, whatever. Like, what do you want to do? I'm like, let's just randomly ask people to join. He's like, okay, cool. And that I'm not exaggerating. That is all the thought we put into this.